Who is the wise and skilled teacher guiding one away from places of negativity? No, you're close. Yeah. The force of mental attentiveness, awake to the realities of the moment. Okay. So, they often talk about the external spiritual mentor and the internal spiritual mentor. So the external one is the person who teaches us and guides us and leads us on the path. But the internal spiritual mentor is the one that we have to develop. Yeah. I mean, ultimately, it becomes the Dharmakaya of the enlightened mind. But on our level, our internal spiritual mentor, where we start out, he's talking about mental attentiveness, okay? So what does this mental attentiveness do? It is awake to the realities of the moment, okay? So it's not just paying attention to what's happening here and now, like we hear sometimes be in the moment and pay attention, but it's not just, there's bowls over there and there's grapes over there and that kind of attention. It's the attention of what's going on in my mind, what kind of tendencies are arising in my mind right now, how do those tendencies relate with the external environment? How am I perceiving the external environment? Is it realistic? Is it not realistic? Are the ways I'm responding to it? Are they realistic? Are they beneficial? Where are my responses coming from? Are they coming just from old habits, or are they coming from reasoned thought? Are they coming from a kind heart? Are they coming from resentment? Okay, so the idea is, why do they call this at the basic level, our level mental attentiveness, why do they call this a wise and skilled teacher? It's because we're trying to become a doctor to our own mind and develop these abilities in our own mind, and in doing so then we can lead ourselves, guide one away from the places of negativities. We can guide ourselves away from the places of negativities. If we don't have this kind of internal mental attention to what's going on inside of us, as well as to the Dharma, in other words, if we haven't integrated the Dharma in our mind, then every time we face a situation, we kind of freeze and think, what do I do? And so sometimes you meet people that every time they encounter a new situation, the first thing is they get flabbergasted and they say, what do I do? Or I'm doing it wrong. Tell me what to do. They want somebody outside to tell them what to do. What we're trying to do on the path is cultivate a mental attentiveness that can assess things ourselves. Now, having said that, there are times where our mental attentiveness is not very good, and we do need to seek help from people who know more than we do. So we tend to be extremists. Either we're like children and we just, every time something happens, what do I do? Where do I go? What do I say? Like, am I doing it right? Or we go to the other extreme of, okay, I'm going to be my own teacher, so don't tell me what to do. I'm going to make up my own mind according to what my ego thinks. And that's not so smart either. Okay, so this mental attentiveness has to be a mind that is integrated with the Dharma, a mind that has wisdom in it, that can look at the situation and say, step back and say, okay, what's going on in me and where's that coming from? You know, is it coming from a deluded place? Is it coming from, you know, a realistic place? What is my motivation here? What is this situation exactly? You know, because sometimes in a situation we pick out one element and then we build a story about the whole thing, or we just, you know, pick out one word and then our mind goes crazy about that one word. Yeah, and then we create a whole reality about it, which again isn't, you know, very helpful. So this is where the mental attentiveness comes in and makes us pause and kind of be aware of what's really going on. Okay, let me see if I can give an example. I was thinking the other day, you know, that as we age, you know, aging, sickness, and death, you know, like they're coming. So, you know, you're healthy now, but you know sickness is coming. You know, it's like, unless you die first, you're going to get sick. Or unless you die first, you're going to face old age. Yeah. But then how we respond when we hear a word, you know, like when we hear the word old age, you know, kind of, or dementia. Dementia is a good word. We hear the word dementia. What happens inside of you when you think of dementia in terms of yourself? Yeah. You know, or you hear the word heart disease in terms of yourself. You know, you freeze. And yet, that's something that's coming, isn't it? And we're actually quite fortunate if we haven't had it beforehand, because some people start having these things when they're really young. You know, if we've gotten as far as we have, and, you know, without a lot of this, we're quite fortunate. They're coming, but, you know, well, why does my mind react that way? You know, dementia, like, you know, terror, you know, or heart disease, cancer, kidney disease, any of these words, terror comes in the mind. And it's only a word. Yeah? And so I was thinking about this, thinking, wow, I hear a word, and then the mind goes into terror freak-out mode and creates a whole image of pain and suffering and disaster because of one word. And I was thinking, isn't that interesting? Yeah. Whereas, you know, if you really look, like dementia, there's lots of kinds of dementia, you know. Heart disease, there's lots of different kinds. There's lots of different ways things can unfold. There's lots of different ways to respond to these things. Yeah. I remember one of my friends whose mother had very severe dementia, but he said she still had the same personality. She was always going around taking care of all the other people in the old age unit, making sure they're okay. And as soon as he brought her something, she went around and gave everybody a piece of it. And I thought, wow, you know, if I'm going to be demented, I would like to be demented in that way. You know? I mean, I'd like to be a nice person. Even if I'm out of it, I would like to be a nice, caring, loving person. So how am I going to get that way? Well, it's by acting like that now. Yeah. So train the mind now, then you develop that habit, then when you get dementia, you know, you're still acting with that same kind of motivation because it's so automatic. And if that's your mental state, you know, I mean, nobody wants dementia, but if you're stuck with it, that, you know, that's not a bad way to be stuck with it, is it? Yeah, are you getting what I'm saying? Yeah? Or same thing with heart disease. You know, you hear heart disease. Now I can't do this, and I can't do that, and I can't do this, and I have to eat this, and I can't eat that. You know, but then you think, well, you know, heart disease can be a good wake-up call. It can, you know, enable you to open your heart, your other kind of heart, to have, you know, more compassion for other people. It can help you slow down and think about what's important in life and set priorities, you know. But to see with some of these things, if you look at them in a Dharma way, then you can transform them into something that is, useful for your Dharma practice, because they talk about transforming everything into the path. Yeah, so like I said, someday or another, these things are going to happen to us, so to practice now, learning how to transform them. And so this mental attentiveness, is attentive to what's going on inside of us, but it's also integrated with the Dharma so that it can see the situation in an accurate way and then decide what Dharma approach, to use in our own mind to greet this situation. Okay? And then that leads us away from negativity. So my point in all this was that we have to not only learn the Dharma from an external teacher, we have to integrate the Dharma in our own mind, and to know when do we need to ask advice from somebody else, and when do we need to figure it out ourselves, or when do we need to at least think about it first before we ask about it, and when do we need to ask about it sooner, to try and see some of these things. And I say this because I remember Lama Yeshe, because so many people would look at him, Lama Yeshe is so great. Lama, should I go here? Should I go there? Should I do this? Should I do that? And I remember him standing there saying, next time they're going to ask me where I should pee. And he said, use your own wisdom, dear. Yeah? So, to learn how to have our own wisdom in situations. Yeah? And similarly, sometimes people will make a comment to us and immediately we go into doubt. Yeah? There was a situation recently, somebody's been practicing in a certain way. One person kind of asked about the practice and didn't really criticize it, but gave that person the feeling that, well, maybe they should be doing something different. And initially, they went into doubt. It's like, oh, I must be doing something wrong, maybe I should do more things like this other person said, and da-da-da-da. And it was like, wait, slow down. Is that what that person really meant? And think about it yourself. And what do you think about how your practice is going? Do you think it's working well or not working well? And instead of instantaneously, because sometimes we're like that. People say a small thing and we just doubt ourselves up, down, and across without really thinking about, well, what was that person really meaning? And do I need to doubt myself? Maybe what I'm doing is perfectly all right. Because, if every time somebody says something to us that is expressing their own opinion and it isn't exactly our opinion or our way of doing things, then boy, we're going to be in the state of doubt most of our life. Yeah, because everybody has different opinions. Yeah, so we have to, develop our own wisdom and, start with figuring out where to pee and then go on from there. Yeah, develop your own wisdom. Yeah, okay, so telling the story how in the early days of the Abbey, when we were trying to figure out what kind of generator to get, then she was emailing me this one, and that one, and the other one, and the third one, as if I were the expert on generators. It's like I can spell the word and that's about it. I don't know anything about generators. They have something to do with electricity, and you want one when the lights go out. That's what I know. And, and she knew much more than me. So I had to say, you decide, because you're the one who knows, and don't doubt yourself when you've done the research and you have the information. Yeah. And if you make the wrong choice, I'll blame you later, but never mind.
That's always the wisdom conservation comes in.
Yes, exactly. That's where you have to have your internal wisdom. And It's a good comment that the more you internalize the Dharma, the more you trust your external teacher. Yeah, and that works because the more you trust the Dharma and you integrate it into your own mind, the more you see it's true and it works. So then you see, okay, then the person who's teaching this to me is teaching me what's true and what works. And so your trust in that person deepens. Yeah, because they're teaching you what the Buddha taught. Yeah, and it works.